You are experiencing the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast.
It is June 17, 2026, and welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty, where we're bringing you the people and the organizations fighting for liberty and a news from a liberty perspective from around the world this time. Some of the topics we're going to get into is, kind of how Britain is losing its national identity, it feels like. They're struggling over there, as we've seen in recent news, a lot of riots over issues of migration and not being able to express issues like their flag and other things. Well, at the same moment, we have the America 250 celebration happening over here, and Trump just had a big celebration with a UFC fight on the White Lawn. So we'll sort of contrast those two things, and finally we'll talk. It is Pride Month, so I guess we'll talk a little bit about gender confusion at the end in the Knucklehead Noise Patrol. It's kind of tied to what happened at the UFC fight. So, but before we get into any of that, let me introduce you to our panel. With us again, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California, and my name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So we always like to start out the show with a Liberty quote, and because of the issue of kind of the question of national identity that we're going to talk about a lot here in the show today, and sort of the issues of I guess what's okay to take pride in your nation, I decided to use a quote from of all people, the Duke, John Wayne. So we're pulling him from the past here, and he's a famous American actor. There's no way you could know about American Westerns and not know about John Wayne. So, but he was always considered sort of one of the more patriotic actors of his day, and he had this quote, which I felt like it was appropriate. And so he says, "Sure, I wave the American flag. Do you know a better flag to wave? Sure, I love my country with all her faults. I'm not ashamed of that. Never have been, never will be." So, and it's funny because we are in an era right now where I think a lot of people seem to want to find all of the faults and none of the goods with the United States. And I mean, to me, if you look at what the founding fathers did, this is the greatest experiment in liberty the world has ever known, in individual liberty. And certainly we had our faults. I mean, slavery existed here at the beginning of the country, as it existed in most of the world, right? So, I mean, this is, one of the, in fact, I think it existed just about in all of the world, right? So, I mean, this is one of these things where, America and Britain, these are places that were early, where the fight was going on early to get rid of these issues of slavery. And the idea that, so many people, they just want to pull at every little imperfection, when the idea that, that this experiment in individual liberty, the idea that, to have a Declaration of Independence with, all men are created equal in there, and the idea that we're getting rid of kings, I mean, that was a great experiment of its time, and I think it's a testament that the country is still standing. I mean, we do have about 40 trillion in debt that's weighing us down at the moment, but we're still standing, and hopefully we will come to our senses and learn some economics and stop all that, so that we can go on another 250 years. But anyways, what are your thoughts on this quote, Leon? I kind of like this one.
Well, I'll try to answer your question with a little bit of a personal story. So I came here 50 years ago. Well, it will be 50 years in January. And I became an American citizen in 1993. It was a long process to become an American citizen. A very long process. I think it took about a total of 16 years before I went through all the steps and finally got it all done. And before I could get that flag, that very flag that John Wayne is speaking about, I got that flag one day in the courthouse in downtown Sacramento. I was walking down the street waving that flag, very proud of the accomplishment. This was September 22nd, 1993. I'm walking down the street and I'm waving the flag. And I don't know what made me stop for 1 second and just look at the flag itself. I was very proud of that flag that day. But then I look at the very bottom of the flag and there was a little gold sticker to the flag. And the sticker said, "Made in China." So it was a very deflated moment for my high of becoming an American citizen. But it's been 30, 33, 34 years, or it soon will be, since I became an American citizen. And I have no regrets about that fact. That flag that I waved that day, I still have it to this day. I think too many of our fellow citizens have lost their way in terms of the meaning of America. It is true. We are not perfect. And I say we because I consider myself as American as everybody else. It is true that I can never become president, and that's fine with me. But I am as American as everybody else. But I think too many of our fellow citizens have lost their way in terms of understanding the meaning of this country. A country founded in liberty, even though we have great imperfections in existence at the time. For one thing, slavery was in existence, which is in direct contradiction to the whole idea of liberty. Women didn't have the right to vote at that time, which is also another contradiction in a country that was founded in liberty. But the founders, in their wisdom, left in place mechanisms by which we can right these things, that we can always jiggle. And it was an experiment, obviously. We always have to take out ingredients and put in ingredients to make this experiment work. And we did. We had to fight a war to end slavery. A lot of blood was shed on both sides of that war. Women had to march and do all sorts of things. They finally get the right to vote, I believe, in the 1920s. But we did all that. And still, here we are about to celebrate 250 years of our existence. I think it is one hell of an accomplishment. And I think we should be proud to wave that flag to show our patriotism, to show that this country is worth fighting and dying for. So even though I was deflated that day that I walked the streets of Sacramento, waving that flag that was made in China, I still have that flag, and I will still continue to wave it.
No, that's quite a deep piece, Leon. And you know, it's funny when you mentioned too the idea that you looked at that flag and you know it was made in China, and you know I couldn't help but thinking that the quote we're using is of John Wayne, and I just saw this piece from Fareed Zakaria, I think that's the guy's name, on CNN, and it was a real condemnation of California's government because of the way that they have driven so much out. I mean, you can't believe this is on CNN, right? But it was a condemnation of the Democrat leadership here in California. And one of the things they mentioned is that I believe in the last Academy Award runoff, none of the films were made in Hollywood, and the idea that you know the studios were ghost towns. He was saying a lot of the lots, and you know I'm not quite sure how to relay that to the idea that you know of an American flag being made in China, but it does seem like you know we do kind of a lot of screwy things that you know I'm not sure that we necessarily need every flag to be made in the United States, but you know my gosh, when you look here at like you know how mismanaged California's government is, and the fact that very few movies now are suddenly, when that was the movie capital of the world, are being made there. And it screams mismanagement. It's like, what the hell
Of
are you
course.
doing there that we're not getting anything done in these places anymore?
No, and the issue of the made in China flag that I still possess to this day. I am a firm believer in free trade, and I see nothing wrong with a flag being made in China. Absolutely nothing wrong. It's just that on that day, on that particular day, I didn't expect the very symbol of my citizenship, the very, very symbol of it, to be made in a foreign country. It was just a little bit shocking to me, that's all. So,
What's
but I
even
do believe.
no, sorry.
Go ahead, don't finish. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what seems a little more sad is that American flag is made in China, and yet somehow they're not buying into the liberty. They're looking at the flag, they're sending it out of the country, and well, okay, we'll keep our dictator. Thank you.
True, very true, very true. but but I think, despite its imperfection, I think I said it before, and I think John Wayne said that in his code, that despite all his faults, we still live in a great country. Do we have difficulties? We certainly do. You mentioned the debt. We certainly have those. We have a lot of racial divisions being pushed forward by the left. Of course, we do all those things. But this experiment continues. And I think as long as many of us see this country worth fighting and dying for, maybe some on the battlefield and some in the battlefield of ideas, as long as there are enough of us believe that about this land, I think we'll celebrate many more years of birth.
Okay. Well, let's jump over to the UK now, because after all, that is where our country kind of sprang from, and both most of the early migrants and the ideas of the Magna Carta came over from Britain. So let's jump over there and look at how some of the struggles and issues that they're dealing with. So they've had a big wave of migration lately, and of course we had a big wave of migration under Biden too. We have sort of turned the tide on that to some degree. Not that migration is in and of itself bad, and we've debated that quite a bit on the show, but certainly immigration with a welfare state is friggin' nuts, right? That's only an idea that a psychotic person like AOC or Mamdani could bring you, smile at you while they're, it's almost like they're burying a knife in your back while they're giving you, showing all their teeth, and a big broad smile. So just absolutely crazy. But they've had a big migration problem, and so that's changed the demographic of that country quite a bit, to the point where now they're really starting to struggle with questions of their own identity as a country, and it's leading to some issues of crime and riots and other things like that. And so we're going to get into a lot of that in the show, but let me show you first. I have a video clip that just kind of gets at issues with how this identity is eroding, issues with whether or not they'll allow you to fly your country's own flag in places, or to say to somebody, hey, can you speak English? Right? This is nuts. These are almost getting to the point where they're considered crimes in England now at this point.
Yes.
So I'm going to show this video, and it'll help to set the stage for some of the tougher issues we're going to get into as we go. So anyway, so here we go with this visual.
Union Jack over there. Yeah, police getting red. He's taking the flag off. Taking the Union Jack flag off. Wow.
what we had there was a girl who was trying to demonstrate her patriotism by flying the Union Jack, literally a British flag, and the police took it away from her. And if you look carefully there, on the other side, they have Palestinian flags flying, and that's okay. And this is not a one-off. So here's another video where they have police trying to explain to somebody who wants to fly the British flag that he can only fly it in designated protest areas while he's in Britain. Think about that. You can only fly the British flag in a designated protest area when you're in Britain. Let's watch.
That he can't have his flag?
There's conditions in place in relation to protest.
There's Palestinian flags flying along there, you know.
They're in their designated protest area.
So you have to have a designated protest area?
Yeah,
What's happening, Yori? What's all the time?
They've got their flags out, they're in their designated area, which
But isn't the UK it's just a designated area for your flag anyway?
well, today there's obviously...
Isn't that right? The whole of the United Kingdom is a designated area for the flag, isn't it? So you can only fly that in certain areas?
If you think that's nuts, apparently if you tell somebody in the country of England that you'd like them to speak English, that apparently could be a hate crime there. This is no joke. This is British police trying to explain to an old man how saying speak English would be a hate crime.
Apparently during some conversations between yourself, apparently you've alleged, we weren't here so I don't know who said it, but you've alleged to say speak English. Or what's that effect? Speak clearly. Speak clearly.
No, okay. The gentleman's partially deaf.
Yeah, he can't speak clearly. Yeah.
So I couldn't even hear him.
No, and that's fine, and that's why we've just come to speak, because potentially someone could perceive that as a hate crime.
Did we just know this was going to happen?
People, if someone says to me, officer, I believe this, then we need to look at it, because someone's potentially reporting.
So, I mean, the absurdity, you see this old man and his family desperately trying to explain to the police that he just said speak clearly. He would have been just fine if they spoke, Pakistani or some other language that he really didn't know. He would have been just fine, just peachy. Just go ahead. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. They're in England, right?
Yes.
And here's a picture from that where they took that woman's flag away, that girl's flag in the first picture, and you can see here on the other side there is a Palestinian flag that is being flown by the people on the other side of that police line, and they came and they took away the flag from the girl who was trying to show her patriotism and essentially signal back at them that she was standing for her country. They're standing for their country in her country.
Yes.
Palestinian. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. And Leanne, before we jump to some of these immigration numbers, did you want to comment on any of this? Or?
Well, the unfortunate thing about this is that I think Great Britain, probably part of the cradle of Western civilization, have surely gone mad, because we are now hearing all sorts of things have become crimes in Great Britain. Flying a flag, like you have just demonstrated. The Union Jack of all things, one of the most recognized flags in the world, is now a crime to fly that flag in Great Britain. It could be a crime, I guess. The being required, asking people to speak English is seriously problematic. You see, what is happening in Great Britain, what have happened over the last, I guess maybe over the last 50, 60 years, is that there have been this great absorption of immigrants who want to bring their culture and their way of life into the country that they choose to migrate to. And we have now, for instance, in London, East London is now called Londistan because it's controlled a lot by foreign-born citizens. Some of them are citizens, some are not. The mayor of London, one of the great cities of the world, is someone of Pakistan. He's a British citizen, but of Pakistani origin, and he has been the mayor here for quite some time. And this whole influx of this, I should say, the rapid influx of migrants or immigrants, if you want to call them that. The rapid influx are causing all kinds of problems with the absorption and getting was integrated into the culture of Great Britain. And the madness of it is that the state is now getting involved with ghettoizing people, because now everybody could have their own culture, everybody could have their own way of life in their little ghetto communities, but the British people, the citizens, the people who have built that nation, who have paid taxes and all that kind of stuff and things like that, and have in the past and continue to do so, stuff, their culture cannot be expressed, not through their flag, not through asking people to speak English, not asking people to assimilate into the nation. None of those things, any of those things could be classified as a crime. Britain, Great Britain, one of the creators of Western civilization, have gone mad, where liberty now is, the very concept of liberty is seriously in question in that country. But I don't want to sit down here and tell you I do not have the same fears about here in the United States. Take this issue about the flag. There are communities where they tell people that they cannot fly an American flag because it may be offensive to some people. That is going on in America. It's not as widespread as we see in Great Britain right now, but we are seeing those seeds already being planted here in the United States. Patriotism is considered a dirty word in many quarters here in the United States. Not as bad as in Great Britain, but the seeds are already being planted. These are the sort of things that we have to be careful about, that we don't descend into some kind of anarchy. Well, that's not totally a bad word, but something, some sort of chaotic situation, because these divisions are being planted by these politicians who think they can get votes by having these large bodies of this rapid influx of immigrants, who of course is going to vote for them on the left because they're going to give them all these social goodies. Yeah. We have to be careful here that we don't descend into the same kind of problems we see in Great Britain right now. We rather be very, very careful.
Well, and it's funny too, Leon, because in when we see a lot of the riots that happen or protests as well that happen in this country, they are flying, say, flags of Mexico or other things like that. I mean, they're flying very few American flags in these protests. Most of these protesters are flying another country's flag, which is kind of nuts. I mean, you know, I could understand maybe if like they are protesting a war, maybe, and they don't, maybe that they are against some of our actions in that country. And I'm not saying that even then I'm necessarily completely comfortable with it, but I can understand then. But I mean, you're in this country and you're protesting our policies and you're flying another flag of another country. What the hell are you doing here? Especially if you're a migrant or something. I mean, it's like, clearly this isn't the place for you, right?
And to further your point, you know, everybody is up in arms against ICE, who is doing their job. They are law enforcement, just like other forms of law enforcement. They just concentrate on illegal immigrants in our society. If you look at many of those, I think we once played a video right here on this show, but if you look at many of these so-called protests of ICE doing their job, you see a lot of Mexican flags. So they are protesting ICE, who are trying to get people out of this country, and they are in this country protesting ICE, but flying flags of Mexico and other parts of the world. What the hell is that? So why are you here? Why are you here?
The most infamous one I can think of, Leon, happened not too long after Trump started his immigration sweep. And there's pictures of Waymos being burned in the street in Los Angeles, and a guy standing on top of one of the Waymos waving a Mexican flag like he just conquered the Waymo. You know, it's the great white Waymo. You know, so yeah, I don't know. It's kind of nuts, but I did, before we're coming up on our time with public access, so I did want to get to the next video before we get into there. So Leon, let's hold anything more. I'm going to jump to our migration numbers real quick, so we can talk about that before we get into some of the real bad stuff that's been happening. So let's watch that.
And when people talk about net migration, what do they mean? They basically mean they take that bit away from that bit. So a number of people leaving away from the number of people coming in, and you get a net figure. It's usually positive, or at least it's positive in recent years, but sometimes it can be negative as well. And that number is up to, or at least it was up to a few years ago, 2023, it was up to about 900,000. And when you think back a few years to when David Cameron was talking about bringing it down into the tens of thousands, well, we are so far beyond that. And it's worth just saying, although it looks like it's coming down, worth treating that with a little bit of caution, because these numbers get revised quite a lot. They're provisional, at least. The last few quarters are provisional. But a bit of context here, OK? So if we take that line and work out what it is as a percentage of the population, it's about 1.25% of the population.
So it looks like they've had a lot of immigration in recent years. So it's changing the demographic of the country. What does that mean in historical context for England? Because remember, the United States, that was a net outflow of migrants from England were, coming to the United States back when this country was being formed. Let's see what this means when we look historically at the British Empire.
When in history have we had flows of net migration that have been as high as that? Well, the short answer is basically never. And I can tell you that because we can look back, not just as far as this chart goes, but we can look back all the way to, believe it or not, all the way to 1541, the Tudor era. And this is showing you how many people are leaving the country or indeed coming in. It's net migration going back all of that period. Most of this covers England, and then you've got the UK in the more recent years there, in the last century and a half or so. And what do you notice? You notice that for most of English history, at least, more people were leaving than coming in. But you also notice this. If we bring on the latest figures I just showed you a moment ago here, that's your 1.25% of the population. And we have never seen anything like that.
So what does the UK look like relative to other countries with its migration issues?
And again, it's tempting to believe, the UK is facing it more than other countries. That's certainly the case when it comes to overall migration. So that's overall migration. The UK, one of the biggest in terms of seeing immigrants into the UK. Looking at student migration, the UK is the biggest. So more immigrants coming across to the UK to study than any other country around the world. But now watch that red bar and we'll look at asylum seekers. Look at that. So although the UK has lots of official legal migrants, although it has lots of students coming in to study from abroad, actually, this bar is still higher than it's been for some years, but it's lower than many other countries around the world: Italy, France, Canada, Spain, Germany, or the US.
And of course, look at that huge bar for the US for asylum.
Yes.
Oh, and it's funny, we're separated by oceans from a lot of these people. They still come here looking for asylum, which kind of tells you there's a little bit of a distortion going on there, I think. So, but if you're watching us on public access, our time is up for you here on public access, but we're going to keep the conversation going online. So go to knuckleheadsofliberty.com if you want to see the rest of the conversation. Again, we're going to get into some of the crazy issues of crime that are happening because of all this and the riots that are occurring there. And we're also going to talk about America 250 as well. So go check out the rest of that conversation there. Okay, Leon, back to you.
This whole issue of the movement of people, which in general, I do not have a problem with people wanting to migrate to other countries, but I want it done legally. Okay, in the last administration here, we just open up the borders, and people have 10, 15 million people walked across. I don't know how many. And the UK has a similar problem. They have people migrating there legally, but they have a bunch of people coming there by boats and all kind of stuff and things like that, coming there illegally, overstaying visas and all that kind. They have the same kind of problems and stuff. But they, as a percentage of their population, they're higher than we are. Okay, because I mean, 1.25% of people net migration. That is a heck of a lot. That would be like that would be like 4 million people coming here to the United States. And well, we had that, right? We had that when Biden opened the border. So the point is, though, is not that people like me, I guess, are against migration. We want people to move, to have a relatively free mobility. We want people to be able to go to their new country and be part of the productive system of that country. But we don't want people to just walk across borders and think they have any rights at all. This is a real problem. And this and Biden and this other fool who's leading Great Britain right now, they have exacerbated a problem that was already serious. They made a bad problem. They made it even worse. So we want legal migration. We want the legal movement of people. We don't want people just showing up our border and say, oops, I'm here, I want asylum. No, there's a process which you have to go through. It took me 16 years to become an American citizen. I'm not saying it should be 16 years. I'm not saying it should take that long. I think obviously the process here in the United States really do need some reform. I would totally agree with that. But I don't want people appearing at the border and say they have any rights here in the United States at all. No, this is our sovereignty, okay? This is our sovereignty. What we call the United States, whether we're talking about private property or what we call public property, is all owned by us, okay? We are the taxpayers. This is our sovereignty, and we should determine how people should enter that sovereignty who wants to live here, who want to make a home here. We have to make that determination, not people walking across the border, waking up in Honduras or Guatemala or wherever the hell they wake up that morning and they say, whoops, I'm going to America because Joe Biden said to us, we can come. No, or whatever the hell that Starmer, whatever the hell his name is in Great Britain, telling you, you could come over, it's okay, it's no big deal. We cannot deal with the rapid influx of people with different languages and different culture. No country can deal with these things. Germany took in about 1 million people in some years ago, which was more than 1%. It's not quite 2%, more than 1% of the population of Germany. And now they're struggling with the absorption of that rapid. It was during Angela Merkel's administration. Now they are struggling with some of the very same problems that we see in Great Britain, because a society cannot deal with these rapid absorptions, this influx of people into society. And some of these people are not even willing to assimilate. They are not. They want to come into the countries and live in these little immigrant ghettos and try to continue their way of life that made them leave the countries of their birth. So we have to be careful about these things, how we deal with immigrants. We have to be careful about, look, I am an immigrant. It is clear from my speech, okay? I'm not against immigration, but I'm against illegal immigration. I am clearly against that. We need to get a better process in place to deal with the influx of immigrants into our society.
No, I think we're largely in agreement there. But let's see what some of the chaos that this mass immigration is spawning now over in the UK, because there's been several incidents recently that have caused some issues. And I think first we'll jump to the story of this Novak kid, just a college student who was on his way home from going to a pub with some friends, and he wound up getting stabbed to death in a place, by the way, that at a laws against knives of all things, right? I mean, so the law didn't quite work, I guess. There. But anyways, actually, maybe it did. We'll get into a little bit of the craziness of that later. But it's the craziness around this case, and that has sparked so much outrage. And you can see here, this has led to a lot of rioting and everything else in the streets there. It's been that the police have been conditioned to essentially, you could see the issue here in the United States as well, where they've been conditioned to, I guess, not hold people equally, right? That to essentially assume if somebody is called a racist, that they are guilty of something and need to be treated differently than anybody else. And of course, the racism claim only works against white people, right? Which is weird, because this is Britain, right? I mean, this is British Empire. That's where the white people were going around the world from early on, right? And all this. Not just Britain, I guess Portugal and Spain too, but
of course.
Britain, was considered the sun never set on the British Empire. It was said at one point. And so, and who knows, maybe the sun is setting on the British Empire right now. But let's go to the story of Novak, because I think it's absolutely amazing how perverted the police have become. You know, like just like we saw in that other thing where they're explaining to people how you can't fly the British flag in Britain, and how you can't tell somebody that they need to speak English to you, you know, if you're trying to have a conversation. So let's watch the case of this Novak kid, because this is really has opened a lot of people's eyes, even the Labour Party in Britain. I think it started to open their eyes. So, here we go.
Here are the moments that unfolded before Henry Novak's tragic death. Newly released footage shows Novak, an 18-year-old college student, taking an elevator in his dorm as he goes for a night out in the town of Southampton on December 3rd, 2025. After leaving the pub, Novak can be seen heading home on foot, before he stumbled into Vikram Digwa, the man who would eventually kill him. Digwa, who is Sikh, was carrying a knife in a sheath on his belt. Practicing Sikhs are legally allowed to carry a small curved blade, known as a kirpan, close to their body under current British law. Digwa did have a kirpan under his clothing, but the knife he used to murder Novak was much bigger and worn in a sheath over his clothes, according to authorities.
So note the absolute absurdity. They have a knife ban where people can't have knives, but some migrants get to have knives because that's the exception. It's literally allowed in their law. It's just beyond nuts. And this is just a college kid walking home from a night out by himself. And of course, let's watch some more of the video.
Novak then began filming Digwa in what would be used later in court. He asked Digwa, "Are you a bad man?" "I am a bad man," Digwa replied before snatching the device from Henry's hands. An altercation ensued. Digwa unsheathed the larger knife and stabbed the defenseless student 5 times, including in the chest. According to the judge, the phone footage showed Novak desperately trying to get away as the attacker continued to record video of Henry suffering. Soon after, the killer's brother, Gurpreet Digwa, called the authorities while at the scene.
Now we're going to hear what's probably one of the most disturbing parts of this, and that's the fact that all the guy had to do is tell the police that this Novak kid was a racist, and that set the stage for everything about how the police would respond.
Sorry, we just got attacked racially by some white person.
Have any weapons been involved?
No.
When police arrived, Digwa can be heard lying to cops, saying that he had been racially abused by Novak. Police then ignore the teen's pleading calls for help.
My brother, he took my turban off, started grabbing my head.
Are you injured?
Yeah, I've got swollen eye, little bruise.
Alright, just step back a little bit for me.
Now here the police pull Novak out from where he's on the ground and he's been stabbed and mortally. He's not dead yet, but he's dying, and they don't bother to pay really any attention. In fact, one of the police, when he says he's been stabbed, he says, "I don't think so, mate." It's just absolutely horrifying. Let's watch a little bit more.
Right, let's get you out of there, shall we? What's happened to you, alright?
Been stabbed.
You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? Don't think you have, mate.
Shortly after Henry was put in cuffs, an ambulance arrived, but the damage was too severe. Henry died shortly thereafter. Less than a week later, Vikram Digwa was charged with murder. The killing and the trial that followed led to mass protests, with far-right activists and politicians claiming that there is a bias against white people in the justice system.
And of course, this amount of injustice is leading to riots.
The unrest eventually transitioned into riots in Southampton, with chairs, trash cans, flares, and rocks thrown in the melee, leaving multiple cops injured. Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he was sickened by the video, and there are questions to be answered about how accusations of racism informed the decision-making in this case. However, he and other members of the ministry also accused activists of hijacking the tragedy to stir up violence.
And by the way, it is the Labour Party and this Keir Starmer character who are pushing that kind of mentality where the cops have all these rules where somebody calls somebody a racist. Boy, you know, that's the worst thing in the world. You just found Hitler.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
We know what Britain thinks of Hitler, right? I mean, you're a hero if you're able to take him down, right? So, yeah. So
this case.
But Liam, before anything else, in the video it wasn't clear. That video, I believe, was from the New York Post. They didn't have their banner on it until the very end, and we edited a little bit of it. So I just want people to know that's where you can go find the whole thing. Sorry, Liam, go ahead.
No, it's fine. But this case is a symptom of a very larger problem. As horrible as this incident was and is, I mean, the family of this young man is now in deep mourning because of this horrible situation. And then the aftermath of it is just unbelievable that the police actually did handcuff the guy while he's on the ground dying. They handcuffed him because some guy told them, oh, he called me some racial slur or some damn nonsense like that. But you see, in Great Britain, again, we get back to the migrant problem. I think we'll talk about this later. There is this grooming gang problem going on. Well, it's not grooming gang, it's really a rape gang problem is what's going on. I've been going on, I believe, since the 1950s. There's a report that just came out on this very issue. And government after government after government, they're saying mostly the Labour Party, cover this up. There's like 250,000 white British girls who have been trafficked. He's been sexually abused and God knows all different manners, have been raped multiple times and all these other things. And the government, these are the people who should be protecting their citizens, cover this up because the perpetrators were either immigrants or descendants of immigrants, mostly of a Muslim background. Pakistani Muslim is what the report says. I mean, that's not me speaking, that's the report speaking here. I'm just repeating their words. And this problem that we see on this street right here is the very same kind of thing that is going on in Britain right now. Is that all somebody have to say, oh, I was racially profiled. Oh, somebody called me a racial slur. And all of a sudden, the police, which is a representation of the state, gets into action to save people from racism. They don't have to worry about the citizen who is bleeding and dying on the ground. They don't have to worry about that. Or they don't have to worry about the young girls who have been trafficked and sexually abused for God knows how many years. We don't have to worry about that. We just have to make sure the immigrant feels safe. We just have to make sure the country is free of racism, of alleged racism. This is a problem. This is a very serious problem. This man, this Prime Minister of Great Britain, or this Sturmer, or whatever the hell his name is, he was in charge. He was the director of public prosecutions in Great Britain while a lot of this stuff was going on with the grooming gangs. And he allowed about 13,000 people who are accused of some of the very sexual assault and God knows what else. He allowed 13,000 of these people to walk free with nothing but a warning letter. Now you think about that for 1 second. A warning letter. That well, go ahead.
No, it's nuts, and we will get to the grooming gangs thing. I did want to stay with the knife crime thing for just a little bit because this wasn't the only recent stabbing, and quite frankly, the grooming gang thing that is dragged out for what has it been, like 5 or 6 years at least that scandal has been going on.
It's a lot longer than that, but go ahead though.
Yeah, and a lot of that has been because they denied it so much, right?
Yes,
and so,
yes.
And it wasn't
exactly.
until so a lot of these things are festering over now, where we're seeing the overt, crazy racism that's being directed back at the indigenous English people, right?
Yes, yeah.
The white people of England, right?
Well, and the left supposed to love indigenous people,
Mm-hmm.
except when they are white.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's like, well, it would have been better if there's just no people there at all. It'll be better for climate change or something else like that.
Of course.
Be better for the red spotted slug or something. So yeah, it is nuts that I've had some, it is a little bit of a tangent, but I mean, I've had some discussions with some deranged leftists before who literally would argue that the earth would be better off without people. I mean, that's how nuts some of these people are, on the left. But anyways, let me get back to the issue of knife crime here, because we're going to see another big knife crime that happened just recently over there that set the streets on fire. And but we talked about a half a year ago about this issue of knife crime there, and it's absolutely nuts. They think they can have knife bans in Europe. So like we argue about like assault weapons bans here, not even necessarily making all guns illegal, but just assault weapons. But like you can even define what an assault weapon is. I mean, some of these guys, they hear AR-15 and they say, "Oh, that means assault rifle 50." You know, no, that's not. It's literally means Armalite something or other. It's the name of the company. That's how ignorant so many of them are. But they think that you can make these things illegal and all the problems will go away. Well, what they did in England, they don't have guns. Most people don't have access to guns there. So now they just stab each other with knives.
Yes.
The idea that you could make them illegal and that would go away. Well, let's watch a little video here. I kind of updated this one video that we did about a half a year ago on this with Keir Starmer at the beginning talking about knife crime, and let's get a little bit of a sense of what's going on there.
We've been talking about what we need to do about knife crime for a long time now, and I'm absolutely determined that if we are able to form a government, this is going to become a real priority. And I think there are things that we can do very quickly. Some of the examples about the availability of knives, it seems to me, are not rocket science. We've got a Young Futures Plan, which is where we look at those particularly young people and take them out of the system before it's too late. And then, of course, that if you carry a knife, you've got to carry the consequences.
So that was Keir Starmer, essentially almost a year ago, just blaming all of this crime on the knives, not the people, not any other social issues they have, simply the knives, kind of the way Democrats here blame guns. We did a piece about, I don't know, 3/4 of a year ago or so on this issue over there with the knife crime that they want to focus on so much. And actor Idris Elba, who was standing next to Keir Starmer there in that clip, and it's just absolutely absurd. But let's replay that so you can kind of see just how nuts this is over in England. That was Democrats back in the Biden administration coming after our gun rights in the name of safety. And of course, they are always trying to regulate things in the name of safety. But this is kind of a slippery slope. And if we want to really see where this ends, we can look over toward the United Kingdom in London, where they've had gun bans essentially there for quite a while. Well, what did they wind up slipping to? Well, knife restrictions, because the violence didn't end. It just shifted toward knives. And now they're restricting knives.
Outside Parliament today, a disturbing depiction of the human cost of knife crime. Each bundle of clothes represents a life lost to a blade on Britain's streets. 247 in the year to June. It's part of a campaign to end knife crime led by Hollywood star Idris Elba, who says the challenge is to tackle the misconceptions.
The misconceptions are really broad, from the fact that, that it's some underground belly you get these knives. No, if you're old enough, you can buy one from your phone and it can get delivered to you by the postal service.
The government admits more needs to be done to tackle the root causes of knife crime, while campaigners hope they now have a voice that cannot be ignored.
So the voice they've found to restrict knives in England is that of actor Idris Elba. So let's take a look at some of the types of films actor Idris Elba stars in.
Hang on, I'm coming for you.
Well, thank goodness. I was worried those films he was in might have promoted knife violence. But let's see where Idris actually thinks these restrictions on knives should extend to.
The truth is that kitchen knives are perhaps 25% of the knives used in most of the terrible crimes. That's one of the stats in the films. And those kitchen knives are usually a domestic situation. Okay. So kitchen knives, of course, it's very difficult. They're a domestic knife. I do think there is areas of innovation that we can do with kitchen knives. I hate to say it, not all kitchen knives need to have a point on them.
Well, you heard him. Kitchen knives can be sharp and pointy, and that is not a good thing. Rest easy, London. There's a new hero in town. His name's Idris Elba, otherwise known as Sporkman.
Okay.
One of the things I think is so absurd, you literally make knives illegal in jail and prisoners still figure out how to make a knife because it's not that difficult to make a knife. Just you make something that's sharp and pointy and stabby, and there you go.
Yeah. you could sharpen and you could sharpen any piece of metal, any object against a wall or something like that. If it could be it's that easy, This is such insanity. We always see these problems. You know, the same way they're treating this whole, you know, it's not the people behind who are using a knife. It's the knife itself is the problem. It's not the gun. It's not the people behind the gun that is causing the problem. Well, it's the gun itself. And this is the craziness that is going on. It's going on here in the United States with guns, and it's going on in Great Britain with knives. I believe the statistics show that the vast majority of the people who are the perpetrators of this knife violence are of Muslim background. It's not me speaking. That's a well-known fact in Britain. But you know what is happening? The media is covering up this fact. They will talk about the stabbing, but they will never identify the background of the people doing the stabbing. And this is the problem. And look at this guy talking about, oh, well, let's have innovation. Oh, yeah, we're going to have innovation. And what is the innovation? The knives don't have to have a point. Okay. What about the people? What about the people doing this? Why are they doing this thing? They're talking about root causes of violence as if they don't know what is the root causes of this thing. Nobody want to talk about that aspect of this problem in Great Britain. Okay. They have a big problem. It gets back to the issue of immigrants. I mean, a lot of these people are now second generation and third generation immigrants, but they have an ideology that is problematic in a society like Great Britain, and they're showing it on the streets of Great Britain. And you cannot speak about it, because if you do speak about it, it could be considered a hate crime. You could even go to prison for some of this stuff, for just talking about these things. Thank God we still have the First Amendment here in the United States, and we could talk about these things. Okay, even though the Biden administration and company try real hard to shut down some of our speech, and I'm sure they will continue to do so, but we still have the First Amendment. We can still fight them. But that is not the case in Great Britain. They're talking about root causes and trying to ignore the first very obvious root cause of all of these problems. And they are not willing to take that on. They want to take on the new technology. Oh, knives don't have to have points. Yeah, that's great. That's really a great idea, Mr. Whatever your damn name is. Okay, that's a very great idea. That's fantastic. I wish you all the luck.
Leon, I just wanted to share too that, you know, I haven't really talked with people about this before, but I am a survivor. I mean, I was in the kitchen the other night, and my daughter was in there too, and there were a lot of knives in the drawer, and we're still here. we made it. We survived it. And you know, it's been like that every day.
a knife didn't jump out of the drawer and stab one of you, Jason? I'm shocked to hear this.
Exactly. I mean, somehow we survived it, and you know, we've survived it in this house for, I think, over 15 years now. And I mean, it just, I feel so lucky. I mean, I just was really making a good point here that kitchen knives are a problem. You never know when one might jump out and kill somebody.
I didn't even realize it, Jason. I have to confess, I too, I'm a survivor. You know, I'm right now in a home. I'm sure if I just step out a few feet from here, there are a bunch of knives in a drawer. Some of them quite sharp too, and they also have there are points too. They're not far from where I'm sitting right now. And in my home in California, I have a lot of knives there too. And you know, I am a survivor too, man. I mean, God,
some of them have wicked ridges too that go like this. Those little teeth that would really be. I mean, you know, it helps when you're cutting a steak, but man, I mean, if that were used against a person,
I'm a survivor too, man. We should form a survivors club, Jason.
Yeah,
we should form a survivors
network. Yeah.
Survivors network. Yes. People who have survived for 20 years. Then the potential of a knife jumping off of a drawer and stabbing you all by themselves, right? And we will never know the root cause of that.
Yeah, and I think once somebody learns to laugh at these things, that's the moment that the healing begins, right? Just have a good laugh at Elba.
Elba, yes. Idris Elba. Yes.
But
Oh, God.
the absolute absurdity, right? I mean,
Yes.
you know, the fact that people in prison where knives are illegal find ways to craft knives and stab people. They you know, I've heard that they have to make the toothbrushes this short because otherwise they'll take the handles and they'll turn it into a knife. Well,
Knife,
it's, yeah, I mean, so the point is, if anybody follows that law, the only person, there's no way to stop a criminal from making a knife, right?
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
So, you know, these people in England. So if you are the only person following the law, you will be the unarmed person. And actually, there was another recent story where this happened. Again, it was a migrant, and this time it wasn't even a case where he was a Sikh and he was given legal permission by the government to be the only guy on the block with a knife. So in this case, this guy was breaking the law too, but somehow that didn't bother him.
But
let's. Oh, sorry.
But you know, in this particular case, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, that's okay. I was going to jump to the video, but you can, if you want to talk about it first.
Yeah, in this particular case, you're highlighting the absurdity of this law. They say knives are so dangerous, knives are so dangerous, knives are so damn dangerous, but yet they're allowing migrants or descendants of migrants to walk around with knives for religious purposes. This is madness. If the knife is dangerous, it is dangerous. There no amount of religion should change that fact. The knife is dangerous, and the guy, by using it to kill another human being, show how dangerous the knife can be. Okay, in the wrong hands of the wrong hands of someone, the knife becomes a weapon. We all know this. So why we have to give this quote unquote religious exemption? This is madness on steroids.
Yeah. I mean, in the wrong hands, a spreadsheet is a dangerous weapon. Bernie Madoff managed to steal so many people's retirements with a spreadsheet. And you know, the answer
exactly
isn't to ban spreadsheets.
I guess we should ban spreadsheets. I guess it will save people a lot of money. I guess according to the logic of the left.
We may have accidentally given the left of some dangerous ideas. Yeah.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Let's go to the video of what just happened in Belfast. And again, I think you'll see the common denominator is the only guy with the knife was the criminal. And he was also a migrant too. So let's go.
And a barbaric act of violence in Belfast has left a man fighting for his life, having almost been beheaded in front of shocked and terrified onlookers. A Sudanese refugee has been arrested with news of his immigration status, turning an already shocking event into a chaotic and ugly night across Northern Ireland and the UK. And a warning, some of the content you're about to see is very confronting.
Let's check out some of the actual video of the attack.
Bloodied and helpless with a knife to his throat.
Has he got a knife? Yeah. Get off him, you f***ing rat!
An attempted beheading on the streets of Belfast.
He's slicing his hair off here.
The victim barely alive as bystanders attempt to buy precious time, with police already on their way.
Yes, get up, get up!
The seriously injured victim survived but is receiving urgent medical care. His attacker now in police custody.
To notice that all of the knife laws did nothing to keep a criminal from having a knife. I mean, knives are ubiquitous and you can fashion your own so easily. It's absurd that they would have these laws. But the other issue here is that this was clearly a migrant that did this. And of course, that has led to a lot of outrage as well. It's like, I guess, just lit the fuse, you might say.
Revelations the knife-wielding man was a migrant spurred all-out violence across Northern Ireland and other parts of the UK. Word spread fast and anger was growing just as quick. What began as bin, bus and car fires soon took a sinister turn as the homes of asylum seekers were torched, seemingly selected at random. The act of brutality leaving Belfast broken. Taylor Ryan, 10 News.
So everything's going swimmingly in Belfast under the Labour Party.
There we go. There we go. There we go.
I just can't understand it. They had a law against the knives. I don't understand how that guy got a knife.
Yeah, of course. Of course. You know, liberals could always come up with all these great, wonderful ideas. And they'll always find some nice, fancy name for whatever laws or however rules and regulations they want to put on us to take away our liberties. They'll always have a nice name for it. And then we have these horrible crimes being committed, even though we have all these laws in place. You know, we have gun control laws here in the US. They have knife control in the UK and in other parts. I guess Belfast is in Ireland, I believe. So and they have, I'm sure they have all sort of laws there about knives and guns and everything else and that kind of stuff. They are nice civil societies, but then they're taking all of these immigrants with or these migrants with their ideas about what life should look like, and then we have attempted beheadings on the streets right there, okay, in broad daylight. And this is sort of madness that is going on in these societies as they try to take in these immigrants. They are not being absorbed into the society at all. They're forming all these immigrant ghettos. They're all over France right now, these immigrant ghettos. They're all over Germany right now, these immigrant ghettos. And they just continue the same madness of their policies. And then we have situation like this, and then everybody's outraged. Why? Why?
I don't know. I suggest that Starmer, you know, the real solution here is he needs to make a law against breaking the law on knife bans. So, and that'll do it, right? He does that because clearly they got around the front, but there's no way they get around two laws.
Good idea, Jason. Wonderful idea. Wonderful idea.
Sorry.
I think I'll steal that idea and advocate to Starmer about fixing this problem in Great Britain. Yes.
Well, anyways, let's jump to the grooming gangs, because that also shows another issue. And I think the shocking thing about this is the way that the left tried to act like it wasn't happening, and that was the biggest issue. And I don't know that this piece clearly conveys that, because you know there's been people like this Tommy Robinson have been shouting for it for quite a while, and he's been vilified as just a racist, and yet
he's been arrested a couple of times too.
Yeah. So anyways, let's watch this report that just came out, because now they're finally actually, you know, doing the science, you know, of collecting some data and saying, hey, what the hell were we doing here? Why were we letting all these girls get raped? Because you know we were so in love with the immigrants who were here. I don't know. Anyways, let's watch the video here.
A new inquiry into the grooming gangs of Britain indicates that the level of this practice may be far greater than any of us had thought. Grooming gangs, they're called rather euphemistically, because what we're talking about is abduction and rape of minor white British girls, mainly by Pakistani adult men. This is a practice that has continued for long. It has been indulged too long by the government, particularly by the Labour government in Westminster and by Labour government in local council areas where this practice has been going on at a very high incidence.
So exactly how many girls have been victimized here?
This report suggests that the number of white British girls who have been raped by Pakistani men could be as high as about 250,000, and the report suggests, in fact, that the number could be higher. The report quotes a senior imam from Oxford as saying that 95% of the men involved are Pakistanis. Bearing in mind that most such cases never are reported, given the nature of the crime and the nature of the offence and the circumstances around it all, and certainly the fear among young girls to report such offences.
And of course, it is the left, the pro-migrant left, the Labour Party there, who seems to be covering all of this up.
The Labour Party is particularly indulging this practice at the local level. A number of the areas where this incidence has been high are areas where a lot of Labour members are in councils. They have been elected to the councils, they are in the administration, and they have been protective of the perpetrators, and some of them in fact have been perpetrators themselves, as this report points out. Also, at the centre at Westminster, there was a demand for an inquiry into this, and Keir Starmer turned down that demand and got his MPs to vote against it.
Now, some of these lefties are the criminals themselves. I mean, they're not just happy, you know, getting some grift from it. They hey, let's get in on it.
Yeah. You know, until I think we have this problem, not this particular problem, certainly not to the extent, but until, for all the corruption that we are seeing ongoing here in the United States and all of this horror that we're seeing going on in Great Britain, until some people people in positions of power, positions of prominence. Until those people start going to prison, these things will continue. Because look at that guy who's now the present prime minister. I said this before. The man is the current prime minister of Great Britain. When he was the director of public prosecutions, he let go about 13,000 of these people who are doing all sorts of things to young British girls, doing all of these things. He let them go with a warning letter. Now heads have to roll on this thing, otherwise these things were going to continue. And even that report, they did say they're of Pakistani origin. They did say that, but they never mentioned the word Muslim. Okay, they never mentioned the word Muslim, but that is a big component of this whole issue. So even though they're trying to expose it, they're trying to let the public know what's going on. Finally, after God knows how many years, I think it's 50, 60 years, maybe longer, finally they're starting to talk about this issue, but they're still trying to cover up this little thing. We cannot claim that they were Muslims. We cannot say that, but we could say they are Pakistani origin. I wonder why they're trying to make that distinction right now, because these problems are going to continue. If you want to cover these things up, you could cover them up, but you're just going to have the problem continuing, because these issues are not isolated. Whether we're talking about these knife attacks on the streets in London, or we're talking about these grooming gangs, they are not isolated incidents. They're all connected, and nobody wants to talk about that very issue, because we have to be good British citizens. We cannot be accused of racism. We have to always fear that. We have to always make sure we don't sound like the Ku Klux Klan, that kind of stuff. That's the mentality. These people with their savior complex their nasty savior complex, I should say, is what causing a lot of these problems. And it will continue until people like Sturmer and all these people who was involved in his administration, who was aware of these things and failed all these British citizens, unless these people end up in prison where they should be, these things are just going to continue. They might call it a different name, but it will continue.
And one of the great absurdities of this, when you talk about anything being called a racist, is think about how powerful that idea is, that George Floyd dies in the United States, and it's certainly arguable what happened there, because when we first heard about it on this show, we hadn't seen the whole video, and so we actually immediately assumed that the police were at fault. And
yes,
after seeing the whole video, it became apparent that George Floyd certainly had at least some of the responsibility on his end.
Exactly.
And yet people here were taking a knee, which is sort of understandable if you bought into all the propaganda here and everything else, that okay, so public officials and in some cases police and others were taking a knee for George Floyd. There were British politicians taking a knee for George Floyd. Some of these people in the Labour Party and stuff. What connection does one have with the other? I mean, that shows you the powerful messaging that's coming out of the United States on some of this stuff and how it filters into some of these other countries.
Yes.
The fact that people there feel the need to virtue signal and take a knee on that issue when it's across the ocean. Right?
Yes, exactly.
It has nothing to do with it jurisdictional wise. So it's just, absolutely nuts. But
I'm just I don't want to get too far away from the issue that we are talking about. But this thing about George Floyd, and yes, I was one of those people who kind of jumped the gun and thought Derek Chauvin had done something so horrendous that he had to go to prison or whatever and that kind of stuff. I think I even said that on the show before he was actually tried. And but it took us a while to see the videos, to see the full extent of it, and then we decided, whoa, let's hold on a little bit. Let's see all the evidence. But before we got to that point, people were already burning down our cities, right? People were burning down our cities for this man who was nothing but a criminal. Now, I'm not saying he deserved to die because he was a criminal, but certainly the racial grifters, and this is the very problem we have right now. Maybe it's not racial grifting, it might be religious grifting, or whatever you want to call it. The same sort of thing is happening in Great Britain. These racial grifters are out there, or these religious grifters are out there, trying to tell us no. We have to protect. We have to protect all these immigrants, these migrants. We have to protect them. We have to make sure we don't make them out to be criminals, even though they are. Some of them are criminals, and on and on and on we go. This is a nasty savior complex of white liberals, both in the United States and in Great Britain. They have to save, people that look like me. They have to save us. That's the problem. They have to save us. So we can't say bad things about people who look like me in terms of skin color. This is racist madness.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, we've seen how Britain is willing to sort of throw in the towel or its flag on, on a lot of its identity issues. But let's jump back across the ocean to the United States, because we are celebrating our 250th anniversary of getting away from Britain. And and I guess, what we're seeing there, we should be pretty glad we did. But there are, there's a big contrast here right now, because we have a lot of people in this country who would like things to be a lot like they are in Britain and in the EU, and they don't think that freedom of speech, they don't think you should have the right to tell somebody that if they want to engage with you to speak English, they think that's a crime, right? Instead of freedom of association and free speech, right? They don't quite understand that, and so they would like things to go that way. But there's an awful lot of people, and also in the current administration, that don't see things that way. And even though I have some of my differences with the current administration on some things, I was very surprised to see this 250th anniversary that went so well at the White House here, where they hosted a UFC fight. So some people have likened it to having gladiators on the lawn, but it's not the first, because Teddy Roosevelt, apparently hosted boxers at the White House before, and so they've had boxing matches there. So this isn't the first type of thing like this, but oh my gosh, in scale, it was stunning. And I think it's worth, I guess, taking a little bit of a look at the video here, so that we can kind of see what was happening at that event, because I don't think we're going to see another one like it anytime soon. It was really almost inspiring in some ways. So here we go.
Despite a threat of storms, thousands turned out to watch the UFC fights at the White House.
The South Lawn of the White House.
The fights took place in an 8-sided cage beneath a massive canopy known as the Claw. The president sat in the front row along with other VIPs, including Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg.
So one of the interesting things about this event is a lot of maybe most of the guests who were there on the White House lawn were actual service members. In fact, they had many people who had won things like Presidential Medals of Freedom or Congressional Medals of Honor, other Medals of Valor. These were the people who actually escorted fighters through the White House and onto the stage. So it was an extremely patriotic event with just a lot of appreciation for the history of the country as well. Maybe it will make a lot of people, young people, kind of interested in some of the history of what's there in Washington, D.C. Anyways, let's get to some of the interviews of some of these soldiers who were watching.
How would you describe this to someone who is not here tonight?
I think it feels amazing. We have so many service members here, and we are grateful for the opportunity.
The main card event ended with an exciting match for Trump's birthday, as in being a handshake from the president himself.
One of the other interesting things about the event is that almost all of the advertising seemed to be extremely themed and patriotic as well. In fact, there was this one video piece that came on during the, I guess you'd call them commercial breaks, where they used a speech that Reagan had given back in 1986 on Flag Day about the meaning of the flag. And I'm going to edit this extremely down, so we're only going to see just a little bit of it. But the visuals they put on were just stunning, just like the event itself, and really, I guess, kind of drew out I guess it was hard not to feel good about America and watching all. So there you have it. I was actually shocked. I didn't know what to expect. When I first heard them talking about this months ago, I thought there'd be a cage out on the lawn during the daytime, and there'd be some guys, having a bout, and it would be kind of ghetto. But I was absolutely amazed. I mean, that stuff was just stunning. I don't know any other word to say. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts, Leon?
I just thought, I mean, it was the whole Freedom 250 is what I think they call the event, or this is part of that whole Freedom 250 that Trump is pushing. And I thought this was a wonderful thing. I mean, I mean, the left is going out of their mind because Trump is doing all of this, doing these things and allowing this to happen in the White House. But I just thought it was just a beautiful display of our patriotism, about we are about to celebrate 250 years. And I think this is great. And stuff, man, to see all of these servicemen, these actually servicemen there, women, I guess, must have been there too, celebrating with Trump, to see the pilots flying those jets over the event and that kind of stuff. I mean, what more could you want to see in your country? I mean, I'm not saying we are perfect. I think we said this before. We are not perfect. But quite frankly, me as an immigrant, I'm willing to take my chances here in the United States rather than any other country in this world, including the country of my birth. When I say this, that I want to live and die here in the United States, because this is a country that I've come to and I've come to love, and I'll continue to love it until I die.
Well, Leon, I felt, like I said, quite inspired, and I'm hoping that this event will inspire a lot of young people too when they see this, because they'll see the people walking through the White House and all the pictures of the past presidents and some of the historical stuff, that maybe they'll be inspired. But the contrast to this is what we saw at the White House 2 years ago. And I don't have video of that, but I do have a few still images, and this was under Biden, but it was essentially a pride festival that they were doing. Yes. And so now keep in mind that the LGBTQ plus whatever that's like less than 10% probably of the population by anybody's count. I mean, maybe in San Francisco it's 25%, but I mean, for the majority of the country, it's like less than 10%, right, of this population. And yet this is the kind of stuff that, just like the left over in UK likes to focus on, it's what the left here likes to focus on too, and just sort of alienating everybody else who's not a part of that. And into the fact where, and funny, a lot of them were offended that we had UFC fighters fighting in a cage, and yet we had transsexuals who were showing off their new goods.
and they are fake. Those are fake, by the way. Okay, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're semi-real. Let's put it that way.
I think that person. No. That picture you are showing right now is a man who supposedly transitioned, and those things are fake. Seriously, that picture you're showing right there.
Fake, as in like they're just glued on, or
no, it was true surgery. That person had those goods, shall we say?
Yeah, so semi-fake. I mean, if there's surgery involved, it's not completely fake.
Okay. Let me say that person was born a man. That person right there. Okay. All right. Okay. Now we're clear. But
I mean, this does bring up, like you can all see in the background. Unfortunately, I don't have a better picture, but here the government is flying a pride flag here, right?
Yes.
Along with the U.S. flag. You can see it over here as well. And I mean, this is, a part of the problem here is that, I think as a country, our government, what are they doing flying flags for things that we aren't all part of the contract for, right? I mean,
exactly.
I mean, I can see a city government flying the city and next level up, government flags. I can see a state doing the same thing, and the federal government should just stick to the federal flag. I mean, what are they doing? Flying other things. I mean, people should be able to fly. If you had people in the crowd and they wanted to run around with rainbow flags, no more power to them. That's your business. That's your speech. But the idea that the government is doing it is kind of nuts and divisive, and I don't know. Just it would be the same thing if the government flew a UFC flag, I guess. If they flew or something else, right? I mean, that would be a similar issue, right? And so I just don't understand why so many people want the government to promote their speech over everybody else's. But
well, this is how they divide us, though. This is how they divide us. But they'll this pride flag. Oh, we can fly that. But if we have a flag from something that is deemed on the right or something that is deemed more conservative, we cannot fly those things because that may offend somebody. But you notice you never hear them speak about offending someone when they fly one of these pride flags or one of these LGBTQ flags or whatever and that kind of stuff. You never hear them talk about offense. It goes back to this whole issue about flying the Mexican flag when you protesting against ICE law enforcement operations. You never hear them talk about the offense of flying a flag of a foreign country. They don't talk about that. But the minute you put up an American flag or you put up some flag that we all could, most of us could agree on, it could be offensive to these people, and we have to take it down. This is madness.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so that's kind of the nuttiness, but I did think that this does show a big I think change in direction for the United States between where things are at here versus where they're at in Britain, because right now it's hard to believe that the British government is going to do anything that's going to be celebrating essentially their heritage, I guess, without somehow including a gazillion other things in it that have nothing to do with the heritage. So you have to hide it like where's Waldo? Here's our pride and our past. Can you find it in the collage? so yeah. But anyways, I did think that this does transfer neatly, I guess, into our Knucklehead Noise Patrol, because our Knucklehead Noise Patrol deals with something that also happened at that UFC fight where one of the fighters said something that sort of relates to Pride Month, but it was sort of a cheap shot at a past president. And so anyways, let's get into that, and we'll talk about it.
First of all, I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment.
So this was a UFC fighter after a fight, but it wasn't the America 250 event that just happened. That was from about a year or so ago, where Renato Moicano, he actually expressed how much he loved his country, or loved this country, the United States. And he went on to even talk about Austrian economics.
If you care about your country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian economic school, mother.
So that was absolutely awesome. Hearing him say all those great things. And yes, this would make America great again if we had more people talking like Renato Moicano was just talking. But that said, so this is something that I guess fighters do after a lot of these fights. Well, at America 250, there was another fighter, a guy named Hockett, I think his name was, and he had something to say, and let's just hear it.
Josh Oakett surprised the crowd with a shocking statement during the UFC Freedom 250 event on the White House lawn on Sunday. After Oakett won his bout against fellow heavyweight Derek Lewis, he said this during his post-match interview with Joe Rogan. Some in the crowd could be heard laughing, while others seemed shocked.
So this takes us back to sort of a cheap shot controversy that was going on back around the time Obama was in office and afterwards, where some conservatives would say, Michelle Obama looked surprisingly big for a woman. I guess they would say maybe that she was a little bit on the masculine side, some of them would say. And, anyways, clearly that is something that put some unneeded controversy into this event. But it's not the only case of this. So I guess it's not simply just a joke. I mean, we've got issues like Candace Owens, who is a prominent conservative commentator, and I don't think she's been going after Michelle Obama, but she's been going after Macron's wife. That's the president of France. And so let's see a little bit of this clip right here.
So the First Lady of France is doing something that may sound surprising. She and her attorneys are planning to try to prove that she is a woman. Stay with us here. Brigitte Macron, wife of the French president, Emmanuel Macron, now says she's going to present scientific and photo evidence in court to prove her sex. This is part of the couple's court case here in the U.S. as they're suing the woman on the right side of your screen, conservative commentator Candace Owens, for saying on her platforms, Macron was born male.
So yes, here is Candace Owens trying to make a serious issue out of whether or not Macron's wife was a dude. It just seems like, I guess, why are we going there? It's what this seems like. Anyways, here, in our own words, here it is.
Brigitte Macron was actually born Jean-Michel Trogneux. That is the person that you are seeing in this photo here on the far left. I would stake my entire professional career on the fact that Brigitte Macron, the current First Lady of France, was born a man.
So Macron is trying to shut down these claims and win the case.
So there you go. Now, that's kind of one side of the issue, and you know, it's a little bit of controversy that I don't know if it needs to be there, but there's another way to look at this too. Why is the left offended? Because this is Pride Month after all, and a lot of them, he's questioning whether or not Michelle Obama is a man. But if you ask most Democrats, they can't tell you what a woman or a man is. And so I have a clip here. Let's watch that, and then I'll throw it to you, Leon.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a
the
biologist.
meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide.
Well,
so I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about.
So it seems like the left is trying to have it both ways. They are trying to say that they are offended if you get something wrong, and then they're saying they can't even identify what a woman is if you pin it down, which means they also can't identify what a man is if you pin that down. And so it does beg the question, if somebody like Hockett or Candace Owens says that a particular woman is a man, why is the left so upset? I mean, if they can't identify it themselves, then how do they even know that Candace or Hockett are wrong? But anyway, let's get into Charlie Kirk had a good back and forth. He had a lot of them, in fact, with a lot of leftists. But this one was from a Jubilee exercise where a bunch of lefties were arguing with him about this issue. And here's an exchange he had with one kid that we've edited down.
What is a woman?
I think a woman is somebody who identifies as a woman.
Got it. So that's not a definition. That's like saying a table is something that identifies as a table. Give me an objective definition of what a woman is.
If I decided right now that I wanted to identify as a woman, I would be a woman.
But it's important because it's like saying a giraffe is a thing that looks like a giraffe, or a coyote is a thing that looks like a coyote. It's called circular reasoning. You have to give me a actual definition.
I don't have to. I did give you a definition.
No. You said that a woman is something that thinks they're a woman. That doesn't give me a definition.
Well, there you go. They're guilty. Hockett is guilty of we're not sure what. He's guilty, according to the left. So, I don't know. What do you think about all this madness?
Well, you know, it's kind of crazy that this idiot who was sitting before that was Senator Marsha Blackburn who asked the question, and that was
Ketanji Brown, that our
Ketanji
Supreme
Brown.
Court. That's
yes, that idiot now sits on the Supreme Court making laws that are going to affect our lives. You know what is really disturbing about the left, really disturbing about them, is that they know for sure that a transgender woman, who's really a man, but a transgender woman, is a real woman. They know that for sure. They know it for so sure that these transgender women should play in women's sports, that sports that exclusively for women, that is where these transgender women belong. But then they want to tell us on top of that, they cannot define what a woman really is. So how do they know that these transgender women are really women? This is what I cannot understand. I'm so confused by these idiots okay, that they have to deny biology, basic biology, to tell us that a transgender woman is really a woman. This is sickness. This is what this is. And this idiot is sitting on the Supreme Court making rules that do not affect our lives. God help us, yes? God help us. You know what? I have to make a confession.
You're not coming out, are you? Just Pride Month.
Yes,
I would have made a bigger banner
yes.
behind us.
I am coming out, but in a different way. Yes. So
hey, there's all kinds of letters for the differences in there.
Yeah, that's right.
Add
That's
a
right.
letter anytime.
So I used to listen. Well, Candace Owens was a fan of mine. I used to listen to her, but somewhere along the way, and I even when she first came out of that story about Brigitte Macron, I heard the story and I believed her. But Candace Owens have gone mad, allegedly. Okay, have gone mad, and she have now been going on my, well, I don't want to use the word, my crap list, shall we say, because I think there's something wrong with the way with her brain. I think I do believe the ladder is not getting to the top rank in her head. Something is wrong with that woman, so I don't listen to her anymore. So now I question everything that she says, right? Quite frankly, because something is not, the screws are not connected there. They're really not connected anymore. Seriously, maybe they were never connected and I just didn't see it. But something is wrong there, definitely. So that's my confession. Okay.
Well, when Hockett says something, I don't think he expects anybody to take him that seriously.
Exactly. The guy is an entertainer. The guy is an entertainer. He's gonna talk crap, and we had to go jump up and down because, well, come on, please. Okay. You know what happens though? The left, well, people that is on the left, they say whatever they want. They say whatever they want. They call Trump Hitler. They call some people Nazi, all that kind of stuff and things like that, which is quite ironic. Right now, they're supporting a Democrat in Maine who has a Nazi symbol, some kind of Nazi symbol on his chest. They're supporting that guy and stuff. And yet they will call people on the right Nazis, Hitler, and all these other things and that kind of stuff. They supported that guy in Virginia who was wishing that he could murder his Republican opponent and all that kind of stuff and things like that. And they can call us any name they want. But the minute we say something that is perceived as offensive, the outrage begins. Oh my goodness gracious, how could you say that? This is so crazy, blah, 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 and on they go. But they never talk about when we see this sort of behavior from the left coming at us on the right. They never, ever talk about that, or hardly ever. But let one of us say something here. Maybe we have said a few controversial things tonight. I don't know. Maybe we'll get attention that somebody's going to yell and scream at us for some of the things that we have said here tonight. But they never go after their own. They never do.
Yeah. One thing I got to say, though, and, I was a little bit disappointed when I heard Hockett. I mean, I did laugh at first, but I was a little bit upset too, because I knew that this was kind of a spectacular event, and I hate the idea that if there's some people out there in the middle who haven't figured out, who are, sort of in a prideful way questioning whether they should be on the right or the left. They're just unsure, I guess.
He probably pushed them in the wrong direction. Yes, he probably.
Yeah, he might have pushed them in the wrong direction, and that's where now. Granted, maybe it's a UFC fighter, so maybe people will take it as a joke. But when you got people like Candace out there too, saying these things, and they're not joking, they're serious, and that's a case to trial. And by the way, I think the Obamas might be getting ready to file a suit against Hockett too. So. Because Candace is being taken to court now. Hockett, I imagine he would back down real quick, and it probably would go into nothing. But for Candace, she stuck her reputation on this, and
yes.
Yeah.
I would like to see the outcome of that case. Yeah. So well, Candace and I are now on opposite sides of anything. So we'll see.
It does upset me too, though, because I feel like we have a lot of legit criticisms of the left, and when somebody can say, "Oh yeah," and you're going to say that some of our people are dudes or whatever, some of our women are dudes, then suddenly that waters down the seriousness of all of the other critiques in people's mind. So that's the one thing I would just ask conservatives to kind of hold your water a little bit on some of these issues. Don't just go shooting out on these things, because it's, I mean, so what if you win? What if it turns out Michelle Obama is a dude? What if you won? It's not like the lefties are going to all say, "Oh, she's a dude now, well, we won't vote for her." No, they're going to keep voting for her. You haven't convinced anybody to stop voting for her. So,
they're going to tell us, if that was ever the case, they're going to tell, "Oh, she's so brave to finally come out. It is so wonderful." That's all we're going to hear. If somebody apologized from the left, "Oh yeah, he's so courage to apologize, blah, blah, blah." That's all that's going to happen, and stuff. But so when you have things like these statements, and I can be absolutely right, that it accomplishes nothing. We on the left like to think that we on the right like to think that yes.
You came out, you're on the left.
Yeah, I did come out there, didn't I? I did come out there. Yes. So we on the right. Now I'm taking back my coming out, okay? We on the right. We on the right like to think. We have a rational basis for our beliefs. Okay, we like to think that, and I try to hold to that. But when you have these guys shooting their mouth off, like this guy, this professional wrestler or whatever the hell he is, it doesn't look good. It really doesn't. It doesn't help. It doesn't help our cause, for us, for the cause of liberty and the cause of freedom, the kind of things that we believe in.
Yeah, and if he had just said it at a normal UFC fight, this wouldn't be an issue, but he said it on the White House stage. Right?
It really, not a good place at all, right? Not a good place. The optics are horrible.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think though this does show that at least America is still able to figure out how to have some fun. UK doesn't look like they're having any fun, and I think that's the message taken from this show. So I don't know. I'm glad we're here and not there. At the end of the show, I don't know what else to say.
I think if we were there, I mean, there are quite a few statements that we made. We probably get arrested for, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, and I guess as we work our way out of the show here, I think it does kind of highlight again, when John Wayne said, "Sure, I waved the American flag. A better flag to wave."
Yeah.
Profound question. I mean, is there a better country out there?
A
lot of people on the left might say yes, but I certainly would not. I think we've got more principles of liberty than just about any place else at the moment. So I don't know.
Totally agree. Like I said at the top of the show, I will continue to wave that flag, though made in China. I'll continue to wave that flag until I die. Okay? Because I believe in that flag. I do.
Okay. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. And so if you're watching us before the next show, think about what you can do in your community to move the ball for liberty, because boy, I tell you, you can see in the UK, they're coming with sporks for their liberty. Well, they may be coming with knives. They don't let the citizens have any knives or guns or anything.
Yes.
So, but they're coming every day for their liberties, and it is scary. And you've got a lot of people in this country who think the same way, who would like to be able to do what they're doing in England. So,
right.
So, if you don't sit on the sideline, you got to stand up and be a part of the fight. So, anyways, until the next time, stay tuned and stay free.
Oh, yes, indeed. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.